This is a recording for AAT Advanced Diploma Synoptic Assessment Sample Assessment 1. I've got the file open, which I'm doing task 2.2. First thing I'm going to go to is View, New Window, Arrange All, Vertical. I've got the exercises on the left and then I can do my tasks on the right. It is important that you read all aspects of the scenario and the task and that you fully understand what you're being asked. You are Sam Jones, a part qualified accounting technician. You work for BLM & Co, a business which manufactures and sells sinks. You cover all aspects of the bookkeeping and accounting for the business, and today's date is the 20th of April. BLM & Co originally budgeted to make and sell 5,000 sinks in the quarter to 31st of March, but due to a marketing campaign, it actually sold and made 6,000 sinks in the quarter. The original budget for that quarter to the 31st of March 08 is on the original budget worksheet. So I can click here to original budget. I'll make that bigger by clicking on the plus so we can see the details or data in full. First thing we're being asked to do is to save our spreadsheet in the appropriate location and name it as they've asked. So in this case, they want it with your initial dash, your surname dash, AAT number dash, date full stop, month full stop, year dash, task 2.2. Now in your exam it might change, but make sure you do it how they've stipulated it in the exam. So I'm going to save my task, File, Save As. It is important that you save it as an Excel spreadsheet and that it says Excel here. If not and you forget, just do .xls and that will guarantee to save it in Excel. As it says there, high degree of accuracy is required and you must save it as XLS. So I've just done that. We're going to now move on to task A. In the worksheet called Original Budget, we need to calculate the percentage to flex this budget in line with the information above and insert the percentage figure into D1. So let's have a look. This is our original budget based on 5,000 sinks. We need to put in a formula in D1 to work out the percentage figure. So as I'm doing a formula, I'm going to start off with equals. That's telling the computer you want to do a formula. First thing I'm going to do is open a bracket. I'm going to take C5 because that is my total revenue for 5,000 sinks. I need to know how much it will be for one sink. So I'm going to divide it by 5,000 sinks. That will then give me the CPU for one sink. I now need to multiply that by 6,000 sinks to get the new revenue for 6,000 sinks. As I'm using a new formula symbol of multiplication, I'm going to put another bracket. So the first bracket the computer will do first because it closes first, then it will do the second bracket. Now that I've got my total revenue for 6,000 sinks, I need to minus that from my total revenue for 5,000 sinks. I'll now put another bracket around so that it will do that one after. And I want to know what the percentage increase is. So what I'm going to do is divide that by C5. When I'm done, I'll press enter and it's telling me it's 0.2. That's not a percentage, so I'll need to change my figure either by clicking here and going to percentage or right click format cells, go to percentage. As it's not stated how many decimal places, I will do it to 0 decimal places. And there we have it, we have 20%. We're now being asked in D4 to enter the title Flex Budget. So in D4 on the original budget, I'm going to type Flex Budget. I now am being asked to calculate the flex budget for the relevant entries using absolutely referencing where appropriate. Now there are a number of ways of doing this. The first one is we could go equals, open bracket, the 800,000 revenue for 5,000 sinks divided by 5,000 to find the CPU for 1 and times that by 6,000. That will then give me the new flex budget for 6,000 sinks. But as I was told in the question I must use an absolute referencing, this formula would not be correct. So what I will need to do is I will need to do equals, open brackets, 800,000 multiplied by 20%, the percentage in D1. I want that cell to remain stagnant, so I'm going to put an absolute $sign in front of the D and in between the D. Close off the brackets. But if I do that, that will only tell me the 20% increase, so I will need to add it to the 800,000. And as you can see, it's giving me the same figure. Always make sure that when you're doing this, that you work it out on your calculator. If you get the correct answer, you know your formula is correct. I now can replicate this down by flash filling. Make sure that it goes in line with the data, so any extra cells I delete it. Now with revenue to variable I can use the replication, but with fixed it must remain fixed, so I need to delete that, press equals and link the cell to the fixed overheads for administration as well as the fixed overheads for selling and distribution. In E4, we need to enter the title actual results. So I'm going to copy that. And in E4, I'm going to enter actual results. The actual result revenue and costs for the quarter are shown in the worksheet headed actual results. We need to use the copy and paste link to insert the source worksheet into the correct positions in column E. So actual results are here. I want the data from here to be linked into my original worksheet. Now when you're doing the link, you need to make sure that these headings are exactly the same as these headings here. If they're not, then you're going to need to link them one by one. But if they are the same, then we can do highlight, right click, copy, go to original budget, click where I want it, drop down, paste link. If they weren't, then I'd have to do them one by one by going equals, actual results, click, enter, equals, actual results, click, enter, and so forth till I've linked all my data. I've now finished question A, so I'll need to make sure I save. By saving as I go along, if my computer crashes, it will have saved the last thing I've done. So it is imperative that when you finish each task, you save. In F4, for exercise B, we want to enter the title variances. So F4, variances. We now need to calculate the variances for the revenue and each cost to show these in column F. So, as this is revenue, the formula for revenue is A minus B. So I'm going to go equals A minus B. Now I cannot replicate this down because the rest are all expenses. So the formula I'll need to use is B minus A. So equals B minus A. Can you see that I'm using the flex budget and not the original budget? Because we're basing it on the 6,000 sinks. When I'm happy, I can replicate down as so. In B16, we need to enter the title operating profit. So I'm going to copy that. in B16, operating profit. I now need to calculate the operating profit for the original, the flexed and the actual. So here I need to put in a formula to work out what my operating profit is. So I'm going to go equals. As this is my revenue and I only have one, I need to minus it from all my expenses. So I'm going to go minus sum, open brackets. And then I'm going to select the materials, direct materials 1, left click, hold, drag down to the selling and distribution. Close brackets and enter. If I check that on my calculator and it gives me that answer, then I can replicate across rather than having to redo the whole formula again. In F16, we need to calculate the overall variance in F16. So the overall variance will be equals sum, open brackets, from revenue all the way down, close brackets, which gives me 16,200. If you do that yourself on the calculator and you get that answer, you know you've got it right. We're now being asked to use conditional formatting in column F to show all favourable variances in green, so all positive figures in green, and all adverse variances in red, so anything that's negative in red. So I'm going to highlight my data. I'm going to go to conditional formatting. I'm going to go to highlight cells rules. And as I want to put anything in positive that will be greater than 0, I'll click on greater than 0. I want to colour that in green. So I'll go to customize format, colour and green. Anything that is positive should come up in green. I'll leave that highlighted and I need to do the adverse. So I'll go to conditional formatting, highlighting cell rules and go to less than 0. And I want to change that to red. So customize formatting and red. When I'm done, I'll click OK. And if anything is negative, it's gone into red, I know I've done my conditional formatting correctly. I've now finished B, so I need to save my work. For C, we need to put an if statement in F18. So F18, we want an if statement. So I could go to FX here and find if. I could go to editing, find the auto sum, drop down more functions, or I could go to formulas, FX or auto sum. Choice is yours. I want the if. So using the formula builder, the logical test is basically if I do this, if it's a positive thing, then this will happen. If it's a negative thing, then this will happen. So the question's saying put an if statement in F18 that will show balance if the column totals balance and check if they do not. So the column totals is this and this, isn't it? But this is my overall total. So I'm saying if this is less than or equals to this minus this, then I want you to say balance. But if it's not, then I want you to say check. When you're done, press done. And it's telling us it's balanced, which means that I've done my formula right. Because if I do this minus this, if it gives me that, then I know this formula is correct. I'm now being asked to colour F18 with a yellow background and a black border. So we've got a couple of ways of doing this. If I go to home, I use the paint can to yellow and the border to outside border. Or I could go right click, format cells, go to fill, choose yellow, go to border and choose my border. When I'm done, I can highlight that off. I need to make sure all column headings are in bold and adjust all cells so that the contents can be seen. So my column headings is this line here. So I'm going to put that all in bold. And I'm going to click the magic triangle and double click between A and B to make sure everything is looking good. I'm going to reduce the A so it looks nice. I've now finished C, so I'm going to save my work. I'm on exercise D. It's saying copy range A3 to F15 and paste only the values into a new worksheet. Once I've pasted it, I need to name the worksheet subtotals. So A3 to F15. I can right click copy, or I can go to home and copy. I want it in a new worksheet, so I'm going to click on the plus. I'm going to paste that in, making sure I click on paste values and not paste, because paste will basically include the formulas, and I don't want the formulas, I just want the figures. I've pasted that in. I'm going to make sure everything looks pretty. So I'm going to click on the magic triangle, double click between A and B and make sure everything looks nice and neat. I need to rename the worksheet, so I'm going to double click, or I can right click rename. It's saying in the newly created worksheet, we want to delete the row containing the revenue. So number 3, right click delete. Now if you get an error message, that's telling you that you've made a mistake and you've gone and pasted the link rather than just the values. So you'll need to redo that. We want to produce subtotals for each of the materials, labour, variable overheads and fixed overheads. So I'm going to highlight my data from item to variances. I'm going to go to data and go to subtotal. As I want to do a category based on the materials, labour, variable, I need to make sure this is in item. I want the total, so I'll leave that as sum. If I wanted average, then I'll change it to average. And I want to work out the original, the flexed, and the actual. So I'm actually doing these two at the same time. When I click OK, you will see that I've got the materials total, the direct labour total, the variable overheads total, the fixed overheads total, and the grand total. And here I've got 1, 2, 3. As I've got it on 3, everything's open. I only want to produce, or shall I say, I want to hide all the details, and I only want to show the subtotals and the grand totals of the individual components. So at the moment, all data is showing. So if I click on number 2, you will see that I've got the materials, the direct labour, the variable totals, and the grand totals displayed, which is what I've been asked. So I can now highlight that, save my work because I've finished D. I'm now on E, which says return to the original budget. So I'm on original budget. I need to perform a spell check. So to perform a spell check, I'm going to go to review and ABC. Now, because my cell is down at the bottom, the computer's not going to be able to check. So it's asking, do I want to do it from the beginning? Yes, I do. So I'll click yes. And I can see that I spelt materials wrong. If I didn't, then I'd say ignore once or ignore all. But as I have, I'm going to say change. Now, if I've made more than one mistake on materials, then I can say change all. There we have it. I've done my spell check. From the variances in cells F5 to F15, so F5 to F15, I want to identify the most significant favourable variance and the most adverse variance. And I need to insert the text in column H adjacent to each of the variants, stating the most significant favourable variance and the most adverse significant variance. So let's do one at a time. So the most significant favourable variance is basically the one that gives me the most positive figure, which is this one here. So I'm going to type that in, and I now need to find the most significant adverse. So which one gives me the highest negative figure, which is this one here. And there we have it. We finished task E, so I'm going to save my work. Okay, so I'm on task F. It says use the pro forma contained in the worksheet called email to do the following. And we need to report what a flex budget is, an actual operating profit, the total variance to Brian and Lakmani Moore. And we need to explain the possible causes for each of the two variances that we identified. Why is this so high? Why is this so high? Okay, so when you go to your emails, remember you must have the salutation, a beginning, a middle, and an end. So the beginning is basically why are you contacting them? What is the purpose of you contacting them? I've done it as saying this in this email I will be discussing the following. I don't like that, so I'll say with regards to I will be discussing the following, and then I've bulleted what I'm going to talk about. So I've talked about the flex, the actual operating, the total variance. I'm now going to explain the reason for the favourable and the adverse variance. So as you know, I'll just go to here. We said that the 15,000 was our favourable variance, which was revenue, and that was because we sold 6,000 sinks instead of the 5,000 we budgeted for. Why did this become an adverse? Well, we did a marketing campaign, so we had extra overheads to pay for, which we didn't account for, and that's what I've explained here. So there we have my middle. The middle is me basically explaining what I am contacting them for, and then you must end it by thanking them. I've now done the email, so I'm going to save my work, make sure I finished all tasks, which I have, and there you have it. Task 2.2 is now complete.